would probably take an average 1-2 grinder playing his A game over an average 25-50 grinder playing his C game any day.
You're listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. Each week, you'll get to peek inside the greatest minds in the game and discover what makes them successful.
Mental toughness separates those that can't handle the stress.
If you're going to treat it like an amateur, you're probably going to have amateur results.
Here are your hosts, Elliot Roe and Adrian Talenchik Rousum.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for giving us a listen. So, Adrian, how are you getting on?
I'm great. I'm doing really great. I've been looking down south to Vegas and watching all the beginning bits of the World Series. Kind of feeling a little bit reluctant to not being there again this year, but maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year.
It's always so much fun. It's just, there's always, it's like summer camp. You see all your friends that you haven't seen since last year and try to win all the money.
These kids, they make it more difficult, don't they?
They do.
So this week we have Mr. Fedor Holz coming on the show, fresh off some recent success. So let's give him a call. So Fedor, welcome to the show. No introduction needed, I'm sure, for everyone out there. So how's your week gone so far?
Very, very good week.
That's a bit of a leading question. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about this week in particular?
It was actually quite intense week. I arrived in Vienna, in Vegas. Confusing cities already. I arrived in Vegas 1.5 weeks ago, I think, something like that. And it basically started right away, 25K, 50K, 100K, 300K, 50K, 50K. And I cashed the 10K, bubbled both of the other tournaments. The 300K, I had a really good first day and then a bad second day. Where I'm not so happy with how I played. And then, fortunately, the last 250Ks, I just ran really hot and could win both.
So a decent start to the summer for you then.
Yeah, I mean, Christoph, my friend, is still in the heads up in the 300K right now. So, summer's been starting really good.
What do you think about them putting so many big buy-in events so close together? Does it have a big impact on the numbers of the events, or is it something where it's actually convenient because it means you guys only have to fly in once and then you can...
I mean, for me, it's super convenient, I think, for others as well, just because they're mostly shorter events. I think we're all used to playing, long sessions and lots of days back to back, and it's actually more draining if you have one high roller this week and then 2 weeks waiting and then another one. So it's nicer to have it all in 1 week, easier logistically, and just I really enjoy it.
There's no worry that one person is going to win all the 50Ks and just ruin everybody else for the rest of them.
I mean, I think that's kind of what happened last year. But yeah, these things are it's super fun. It's just, you have the same people. It's always very competitive, but also really fun and relaxed. It's a great setting. So, I love that place and playing there.
And is there a big shift between playing in these at the Aria and perhaps going to the Rio and playing, maybe obviously not a 1K event, but let's say a 5K event at the Rio? Is it a very different sort of atmosphere for you?
Oh, it's very different. I feel in the Rio, I always have to focus way more. I lose more energy on trying to concentrate. In the Aria, it just feels you feel more at home because of the people, but also because of the place, the chairs, the dealers and stuff like that. You don't have to be that aware, things around you are just more higher quality. Basically, in the Rio, it's cold and dealers. You have to always watch out for what the dealers do, what other players do. So I'm not. It's very different.
So faced with that prospect, is there anything that you do to start your day differently, or how do you go about your day then?
I mean, this year I'm not going to do the summer grind. I'll actually fly back to Vienna in 4 days. I played one drop at the Rio. We're actually in the tag team event right now. I have a team with Eric Seidel and Cora Aldemir, which is quite fun, and Cora's playing at the moment. So after the interview, I'll head over and give him a break. But yeah, it's very different preparation. For the Aria, I'm basically I stay in the Aria, so I'm basically just leaving the bed relax, going downstairs, playing. And for the Rio, it's more like it's a longer grind. It feels like it's more exhausting. And I will definitely not do this that year.
And I mean, obviously, people are going to mention you said you're retired and you've come and you're winning all the tournaments again. I mean, it is a retirement for you not playing for the whole summer, isn't it? Sort of it no longer being a series.
Oh, I mean, it's huge. It's a huge difference. Like it's with the small fields and like the high density of tournaments or like intensity as well. Obviously, there's going to be, like a 300K cash here or like a 200K cash here, but you can't forget that it's like, a 50K buy-in or like a 100K buy-in. It's like, you cash for like 2 buy-ins or 3 buy-ins. Like the numbers just sound real. I mean, I said this before, like in terms of how much I play now, I play maybe less than 5% of what I used to. So it's a very big difference for me personally.
So there's not too many competitive arenas where people can drop down to 5% of their output and still remain competitive. What sort of things do you do to make sure that you stay relevant?
I mean, there's 2 things. Like one is talking to my friends or like my poker friends. That is super important. Just, staying up to date. Like, I mean, I still enjoy thinking about poker. It's just definitely a lot less volume. The second thing, I think a lot of these things I'll definitely slowly decline. I still think, though, that a lot of the live aspects are going to stay relevant. Like, I mean, I've played so many hands with lots of people that I know quite well, like how they play and how to adjust. And then secondly, very important, mental preparation. I think that's where I had a big advantage like 1 year ago where people didn't really prepare, or like the general field didn't really prepare that well for tournaments. Like now it's fun to see how like people are more and more adapting to like workout and meditation and like preparing better. But I think like 1.5 or 2 years ago, you had like a huge advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we've been working together over that sort of time period. And I mean, do you want to go into sort of a bit of detail about how you came to be working on your mindset in that way and the sort of differences that's made to you and your play?
Yeah, of course. I mean, to me, it was always really important to think about like the little details as well. Like I think when you reach that point where you're maybe at 80 or 90% capacity, basically, it becomes more and more important to think about the small details. And one of these things, or like a lot of these things, where I felt like, I didn't have that much background or that much knowledge, they were basically being combined by that mental part. So it was like, how do I deal with downswings? How do I deal with bad beats? Like, how can I focus longer? And like all these little parts where I'm like, okay, how can I like slightly improve there? They were all basically combined in the field of mindset coaching. And I got into it like, I would say it's already 4 years ago, where I started doing sessions, just, talking about my routines and like improving a lot of little things like work daily routines, like how I grind, how I prepare, and then getting more into the live part of it. That's basically when we started working.
Can you give us an idea as to what like a Wednesday routine would look like to you?
That very much depends on what time or what phase of my career. Like I would say in the online phase, Wednesday was not necessarily like a day I would play that much, or like, let's say irregular. So it was like maybe 3, 4, 5 days grind a week, I would say. And then, like very back then, I would say I had like a very not regular daily, and that improved over time. And I think especially in these live tournaments, like one of the most important things to me is to get as much sleep as possible. Like this is extremely important to me.
And then in terms of getting that sleep and organizing your life that way, is it something where you're just noticing like extra focus as you reach the end stages of these tournaments? Are you seeing weaknesses in the players that aren't doing it, or is it just something very subtle?
Probably just give your body what it's trying to take, basically. Like when you feel tired or when you feel like you need a break, like don't push it, don't force it, just like relax, take some time off sometimes. That's definitely something I improved like a lot it's also translating into all the other parts as well. Like, there's a lot of force in poker, basically, or like in the life of a professional poker player. Is like, you have to win. Like, you can't mess this up. Like, there's a lot of this pressure, and I think I had a lot of this pressure too. And obviously, the worse you run, and like downswings and private things, and like things come together, and you're like in this really bad state. And it's crazy, I think, how much of an impact that has on your performance. And so that's why I think mindset coaching is so important. Just like get this into the focus, like over like every week, basically. Like reflect on it again, try to improve again. Don't ever forget it, and always try to work.
So if you were approached by somebody who said, "Hey, Fedor, I'm totally stuck in my game. I have hit this plateau. Can you give me 3 ideas of ways I can get better at the game? What can I do to get better? What would be your big suggestions?"
I think one of the things that most people lack is a good circle of people. Like basically everyone, when I ask them like, who do you work with, is like, I have this friend or that friend. Like, I think it's totally necessary to have a circle of people where you can exchange ideas if you want to improve like faster than others. Like, because most of the time you have to catch up, right? Like if you start at any point later than other people, like you have to catch up to the best. And so I think it's just really important to not only put in a lot of time, but also put in a lot of like effect, hard time. If you combine that with other people, like they can research, they can work, and then you get together and you have this combined knowledge in like a way more effective, or like way shorter amount of time, because big thing is something they figured out in like, some minutes where they probably spend a couple of hours like thinking about it. So circle of people, I think, is really important. Then preparation / discipline, I think, is like one of the most important. Like, I think in poker it is so incredibly easy if you're disciplined and follow like a reflected path or like routine to be winning. Like even if you're only mediocre player, like you can make up for this like by just being a disciplined player, like knowing what games to play, like just never do any like intentional -E things, basically. Like that's like a big part of it. And then I think the third part would be research, reflect, like always ask other people. Like really important to get like a good understanding of a lot of things. Don't be ignorant. Like if even today I'm always interested in other people's opinions. Like I'm constantly asking, how would you have done that? Like what do you think about this? Like I think there's never a point where you've solved it, or like never think you know it better than others. Like always question in a healthy way what you're doing. And I think that's with these things you'll get a far way.
Who is in your inner circle, and how did you find them?
I mean, just putting hundreds of hours into it, basically. Like, you establish all these connections with like people on like a very, let's say, level 1, right? Like you have a lot of acquaintances, you meet people on forums, like start chatting with people, maybe on the table, maybe people you play regularly with. And then you have, let's say, this, like that's already taking work. Like you have to, maybe you're, chatting in forums. That's just a lot of time. Like start contacting people that you think are interesting, like, or play higher than you, or you can learn something from, or where you can have a positive. And then you have like a base of, I don't know, 100, 200 people you're somewhat, connected with. And then out of these people, there's like people who are developing on stage 2 or so, where you're like spending more time with each other, you like each other, you're fitting well. Like you, basically these people where you feel like, okay, it's kind of like a 50-50, they give you something, you give them something, because all the other relationships where it's like only one-sided, like they just like fizzle out over time. And I think then it's just, like about putting in the effort and putting in time to like grow that. And then like even connect people with each other, like now you have like 4 or 5 people you talk to, and like you create groups, and you have Skype groups, and you have learning groups. Like back then I was in like 25 different Skype chats, like constantly chatting with people, and it's like, hey, like literally whenever I had a question, I would text like 6 different people, and then I have the perspective I was talking about before, right? Like not only ask one person or like trust yourself, but like you have 6 different opinions.
Was it a networking strategy? I mean, you're describing it in levels and things like that. Was there any conscious thought going into that beforehand, or was that something that just evolved and that's how you view it?
I think that's just a reflection of how I did it back then. I think most of it was intuitive. I mean, I'm not thinking like, oh, okay, this guy's level 2 or something. But I mean, that's basically just an explanation of a simplification of how these things work. Right? Like you have people you like, then you have people you like more, and you have people you like a lot. Like in a very simplistic way, that's basically how it is. And I was just like, okay, a lot of people don't put the effort in to get to that point where they might find people where they can get like really beneficial, mutually beneficial relationships.
Yeah, it's difficult for people to put the effort in, and then as you say, this is a huge advantage that you can take. On the mindset side, we haven't spoken about it yet, but this week we did also launch an app together, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
The other good part of your week, Fedor.
Yeah, I mean, this week's like, that's a good week. It's a good week. Yeah, I mean, we launched Prime Mind. We started working on this. When was it? Like September, October?
About October last year,
yeah,
I think.
October last year. Basically, the thought behind it is, so for you that don't know about it, like I've been doing mindset sessions, coaching sessions with Elliot for like November 2015.
15, yeah.
So quite some time now. And I mean, it's like, I mean, the results are just incredible, and but it's not only that, it's also that it just feels really good. Like doing it, you just feel better. Like I don't think it it doesn't even have to be connected to result. It's just like you generally feel better about your day, about your week, about the things it puts it in place. I recommended Elliot to maybe, I don't know, like 30-40 people, and
it certainly helps.
And I've never heard like any negative. Like it was, it's just. I feel it's something that is so generally helpful that I felt like, and I think that's how we feel about it, is that we should share this in like in a way that everyone can access it. I generally like the idea of creating or like making valuable things accessible. I think that's something that's just something I'm very interested in. I think it creates huge value, and I think that's how you can have a big impact, is make something that is very, very inaccessible, like make it accessible if it's valuable, obviously. And so, yeah, that was the idea behind Prime Mind. So we started recording 10-minute sessions with Elliot and went back and forth, like had lots of discussions about, what are the best topics, how can we do it better? Like, I don't know how many takes we did, but a lot. And I mean, it's just such an amazing feeling to get this feedback now after you put so much time into something. Like we've literally been sitting there like listening to tapes like over and over and over again, and like, oh, this we can maybe say better or word better, or this like we work together with someone that does professional background music, which I still think is hilarious. And so like there just went so much work into like all the little details. And then obviously the app development, where we're still working on it. Like I don't think if you can ever imagine how much work like an app is. It's just crazy. Like so many things here and there. Still working on it. Like still so many things to improve, so many things we want to do. But yeah, the feedback's been amazing. I think we have we have over 1,000 people that gave feedback, and it's like almost 4.9 or something out of 5, if I'm not mistaken.
It's been incredibly from that side, and so people out there understand it. What's interesting is it ended up not being a poker app. I sort of spoke to Fedor, we were discussing apps and things, and I think you said sort of, you've got no interest in being involved in something that's purely for poker players. If you want to help people, it needs to be helping everyone, not just a small community. And it's quite interesting seeing how that's now evolving.
I mean, when we had that conversation, I remember that quite well. Like, I remember that, like Elliot and me were talking about creating an app, and you were like, hey, let's do like poker one, or like we can do one for this, one for that. I was like, no, like I think this is way bigger. Like I think this is not limited to poker at all. Like we can have poker in there. Like I want to spread this so people use this every day, because I think it's just so helpful, and just your day started, like be more focused for whatever you needed, or like be more in the zone, be more positive, just like talk more to people, like be more outgoing, whatever you want to use this for. It's basically connecting you with your subconscious, and like you helping yourself to set yourself up for that direction you want to yourself develop in, which I think is like an incredible tool.
I was just going to say, I actually just a few hours ago downloaded the app, and there's so much free content, which is so awesome. And my stats, I've already done 6 total sessions.
Well done.
But I did breeze through some of them a little bit. So I only have 14 total minutes improving. But I know that one of the things people complain to me all the time about is just that time is such a barrier. How much time do you think people need to devote to mindset improvements on a daily or weekly basis?
I mean, I think generally it's not a term that should be, like a certain thing that is away from what we do every day. I think it's just what we should be doing without giving it a specific name, right? Like we should, the same way we breathe, we should reflect and like think about what we have done, like can we do it better, how do we want to be, like things like that. And I think this is just a tool that supports you with that journey, and I'm personally very happy that this is becoming more and more, like people are getting more and more aware of how important this is, and how it can be so easily implemented in your daily life. Like I think now with our app, we basically want to kick that off with maybe 10, 20 minutes a day, like maybe 1 or 2 sessions a day. I think that's perfect. You have maybe one in the start of your day, then you have a second one. Like when you after like a long work day, you feel like you want to wind down, or you have something really important like an interview, job interview, you can prepare for that, have something like that, or you have like anything that basically you feel like you need more preparation for, we will have something, and that's the whole idea.
Yeah, sort of bespoke warm-ups for everything that's stressful in life is the sort of ideal end result of this, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we also want to have, now we put together the most important things that we thought are necessary, that we can provide a basis, but we also want to provide more, like we also want to expand them. That's why we decided to also go in the ambassador direction, pro section we have, where I'm currently in there for poker. We have someone for fitness, like David Lengau, who's really famous in Germany and Austria, like motivating a lot of people to like do 12 weeks fitness like sessions, basically, where they constantly improve and transform their body. And then we have like NBK, Nathan Schmidt. He's like a really famous Counter-Strike player who played for NVS and now plays for T2. And I think like especially esports, a huge section for it. Like lots of people play it competitively, and it's like very high focus, high intensity. Like I use it for playing computer games, and I think it's amazing how different you're like in the zone again. And then we want to expand it. Like we want to have a library for you click on Find Mind. You want to prepare for something, you just sit down, listen for a minute, you're ready to go, whatever it is.
What are the top tracks that you recommend to people? Or be so presumptive and ask, like, what are you focusing on in your life right now?
I mean, like to me, obviously the poker section. Like if you play poker, it's just like, especially the tournament ones. Like I think they hype me the most. But obviously that's what I personally connect with. But like for the general things, like I love to start your day one. I prefer it way more in the morning than in the evening, because I just like to, going. I'm more someone that is like a little slower in the morning. Like I take a cold shower, I listen to one of the tapes, and I'm ready to go. Like play a 10-hour session, no problem.
And it's as I say, just it's so fun to see it out there and actually being used now as well. As you say, we've got a lot of people out there using it, so it's just great to watch from that side.
Yeah, I mean, it's same for us. I mean, there's a huge team behind it now too. Like we have multiple people working on it, both on marketing, like app development, like and I mean, it's not just us, so it's like lots of time and energy going into it, and I mean, the guys are doing an amazing job. So yeah, it's just everyone is. I think it's it's something we're really proud of as well, because we just love it. We love the product. I think that's something I learned as well, how important that is. If you have a startup kind of thing, to just be 100% like identify yourself with your product. Like I can, with everyone, like even if they're like, hey, I didn't like it at all, which happened like once so far, I was like, yeah, sure, like. Let me know why. Like you just learn, like you can cope with the negative feedback like way better, because I don't have to defend it. Like I know that it's great for me, it can be great for others, and like you can only learn from feedback, like in any sort of form.
I'd imagine your team meetings must be the most focused and directed meetings.
Yeah, we all
across.
We all sit down 10 minutes in before, and we listen to a team meeting session.
I mean, it seems I've worked a lot of different jobs and within a lot of different teams. I think that it would be helpful in a lot of realms.
Oh, I mean, we have big plans as well. Like, there's so many things that excite us, and like people gave us such cool feedbacks and input. Like, one thing we definitely want to do is more personalization. Maybe that you can basically build your own tracks, like put together lots of different small pieces, basically, so you can choose, the one that perfectly fits you. Based on the input you give, you can be like, we ask you, how do you feel right now? You listen to the track, how do you feel now? Like, what's important for you? What's bothering you right now? You have this like profiling, basically, where we can even support you better, right? Like we want to get as close to a one-on-one session with Elliot as possible. And I think in the next couple of months, if we put in like more and more time and work and improve, and like that's where we want to be. And I'm very confident that's where we want to be.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting few months for sure.
That's for sure.
So now are you going to go and win the 1-for-1 drop to help with the app, Fedor?
I mean... You're questioning me, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, now you are. Surely I should be telling you.
Yeah. Let's visualize. I mean, yeah.
So it's the tag team event, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, today, yeah, actually. I mean, that would be super fun. Like, Korai is still in there. I just read his message. He's like, we have 80,000. So, but yeah, I'll go after that. I'll go and play. And the one drop, yeah, I'm super excited. That was like, that was such a good memory last year. Like, so amazing. Winning that bracelet was just, mind blowing, really. Such a cool experience. And now, this year, I mean, with these 2 wins and in the back, like, I'll just go out, play poker, have some fun, and hopefully run deep.
Man, and how different did it feel? Obviously, you've won a lot of these big tournaments. The fact you get a bracelet and it is the World Series, how different did that feel last year as you hit that one?
Slightly different, I would say. Like, there's, like, actually, I think the EPT Barcelona one was the most emotional win for me, but the bracelet was really amazing as well. Like, there were just crazy experiences. But generally, it's just these high, when there's friends around you, like, cheering you on and, like, I don't know, it's just this moment where you realize like, hey, I'm actually going to win this. Yeah, I really enjoy these moments. And especially being so competitive, like that's very important to me.
Well, we'd better let you go and win the tag team event. as I know you have that on. So everyone out there, if you want to check out the app we've been talking about, it's primedmind.com, and we'll have links on the podcast page here. So it's on iPhone, it's on Android. There's a ton of free content on. So yeah, just go there and check it out. And where can people find you, Fedor, to give you a follow and things?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I obviously post about it too, like the development, the team. We also have other things going on that we're working on. So if you want to follow that, on Twitter, I'm at CrownUpGuy, and Instagram, yeah, you can find me at FidWire. Besides that, I'm probably easiest to find on Twitter, and just give me a follow there and you'll see the updates on the app and other things that I'm up to.
Man, well, we want to see more of those pictures of you with trophies. So,
I'm trying hard. I will try for sure. Not as hard as I used to, but if I play, I'll try.
Well, enjoy it, man.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
So really good of Fedor to come on. Obviously, nice of him to talk about the app we've made with each other as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited by it. It's cool, and I like the colors. They're a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't have much to do with it except for make the voiceovers. So all credit to that has to go to the design team and those guys over there. So yeah, I won't pretend to take credit for that stuff. But yeah, it's come out really well, and hopefully a lot of people are going to take advantage of all the free content we've got on there, and nice to see that he's putting it to good use and winning the 50Ks again this year.
I know. I'm really strongly considering retirement after that discussion.
Yeah, well, just retire and then just only play the 50K events, and there you go. It's all resolved. And I think we didn't mention it on the show, but I think, if I'm correct, what he's done in the last 2 days will actually take him to number 6 in the all-time money list. So pretty incredible stuff to have caught up all of those guys and only been a legal poker player for a few years.
Yeah, I mean, it's exceptional mindset, exceptional play.
Yeah. So, Adrian, where can people find you?
I will be back on Twitch this week at twitch.tv/talentchick. Just a slight hiatus, visiting some family. But you can find me back there grinding the mixed game MTTs and the odd No Limit Hold'em.
And if you want to check out my stuff, check out my Mindset Academy, and that's PokerMindCoachAcademy.com, and check out the app. Check it out on the iTunes Store or the Play Store if you've got a Google phone, and it's just called Primed Mind. So thanks, guys, and we'll be back very soon.
We'll chat soon.
You've been listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. To get future episodes delivered to you automatically, make sure to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting service. To get any resources mentioned in the episode or to listen to past shows, visit pokermindcoach.com/TMA podcast. Thanks for listening.